So a previvor is someone who takes action to reduce or eliminate the risk of a genetic cancer before it develops.
Okay.
So my story goes back to my mom being diagnosed with breast cancer in 2014, within weeks of me actually starting this job. So I was so excited, this great new job, and then my mom calls and says, I have breast cancer.
Welcome to episode 72 of The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. I'm your host, Janine Igliani, with my co-host, Ryan Hatcher.
What's up, guys?
And our guest today is Emily Dillie, and she is a VP of Marketing and Brand Management. Emily leads the marketing and communication strategy, brand development, and programming for her growing portfolio. Since joining the company in 2014, she's played a pivotal role in shaping brand identity, driving advertising and communication strategies, and expanding the reach and impact of the marketing team. That's awesome. Under your leadership, the development has evolved from a single-person operation to a dynamic team focused on delivering innovative campaigns and cohesive brand experiences. Emily's expertise ensures that each property's unique story is told with authenticity and strategic vision. And you have some really cool accomplishments. So you graduated in 2000 from U of A.
I did.
You've spent 11 years at Marc Rose Hospitality as the VP of Marketing and Brand. Your hubby is the AD at Higley, which we had on the podcast. So check out Aaron's episode.
Shout out, Mr. Dillie.
You have 2 teenage girls. So my thoughts and prayers are with you. Been there. You are a breast cancer previvor. You'll have to explain what that is. And last but not least, Mrs. Arizona for 2022. So thank you for being with us. This is fun because we're going to have a lot of different topics to cover. So thank you. Yeah. And we would love, I gave like a thorough introduction, but we would love to hear your story. Who are you? Where did you grow up? And how did you get to be where you are today?
Well, thank you for having me. This is really fun. I'm excited to chat with you both. A fan of the podcast.
Thank you.
I grew up in Oregon and in the city, went to a high school right in downtown Portland, and my number one criteria for college was sunshine, getting out of Oregon.
I bet.
So I went down to U of A, and my mom told everyone I picked school colors and sunshine.
Yeah.
And I rarely get to wear my red anymore, though, because my husband, Higley, is blue, and our rival, that other school, wears red. So it's a rare occasion that I'm allowed to wear red.
Yes.
But it is U of A and a few other things. So went to U of A and mostly have lived here since. I met my husband there. We bounced back to Portland briefly, bounced back to Colorado where he's from briefly. Tiny town, which I know he shared with you when he talked, a town of 500 people in the middle of nowhere. I lasted about 4 years there. We had our second baby and I said, we got to get back to civilization. So we've been back in Arizona since 2012 and love it.
All the sunshine and all the things.
Yeah.
So tell us, you have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
How old are they?
18 and almost 16. So I have a senior graduating from Higley next month, and then a sophomore.
Yeah. How's that been?
It is wonderful. Honestly, it has just gotten more fun every year.
Yeah.
I probably struggled the most with them as toddlers.
Yeah.
That was harder for me.
Really?
Teenager years have been so much fun.
Wow, you're lucky.
Lucky.
We just have a blast. We travel a ton. We do things like, as 4 adults, just like, let's go out and we have more fun all together than with anyone else.
I love that. Honestly, I totally agree. Someone said to me, like, you're not supposed to be your kids' friends. But I find that as my kids get older, we genuinely are friends and I enjoy their company and I want to hang out with them. And I think that's like the greatest gift. We had to get through some hard years, but we get through it, get on the other side. And then it's like, hey, I actually like you.
Right.
I think it'll be more fun when they're parents.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
What we go through. Yeah.
I know.
Well, you guys are traveling machines. In fact, almost every time I look down, I see something else on social media. And I joke, but she is probably one of the few people in the world that loves ice cream more than me.
Oh.
Yeah. As a family, we definitely do it. It's kind of become a thing. People have joked that we should start a whole separate Instagram for our ice cream analysis.
I agree.
Do you have a favorite?
Our favorite place is actually in Bonita Springs, Florida.
Okay.
On the Gulf side.
Okay.
Of all the places we've been, that's still number one.
What? Just curious.
The ice cream is really good. For me, like I won't eat ice cream at home at all.
Yeah.
It's got to be like in a cone, get a waffle cone,
Yeah.
dipped with sprinkles.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going all in.
Okay.
And this place in Bonita Springs, it's called Sweet Melissa's. They win awards every
Oh, I
year.
love that.
We've been on their Instagram several
Oh,
times.
I love that.
That's awesome.
But they're great. And
Yeah.
they're a small, family owned local spot.
That's the best.
And it's really good.
Well, let's talk about what you do, because being in charge of brand and marketing, that is huge. And I think especially in today's world, it's becoming even more important than ever before. I know for a board that I sit on, we had to add essentially like I call it marketing, like communications, social media person, because we realized like you have to have a presence in all of those places. So what's that like?
I love it. Another thing my mom said when I was growing up is, I think the job you're going to have hasn't been created yet.
Oh.
And quite honestly, that's kind of what has happened in my role. So 11 years ago, I was hired as the marketing manager for what at the time was called Classic Hotels and Resorts. They had 3 hotels. We now have 7 hotels. We've just gone through a rebrand, Arizona and California. So we were very regionally focused. We have the Arizona Grand Resort and Spa with the big water park here. The Scott Resort and Spa right in Scottsdale.
Yes, I've heard good things about that place.
That one, so that was one of our big renovations back in 2017. Bought it. It was a Kimpton Fire Sky, remodeled, rebranded. And then one in Flagstaff, High Country Motor Lodge. And then we have 2 in Laguna Beach and 2 up in Carmel.
Wow. So I used to work in hotels, side note. That was like where I started, and I did that for 7 years and like absolutely loved it. But the hotels are constantly changing ownership.
It does happen. So we are independently owned. Our company was started by a husband and wife team, and unfortunately Sam Grossman just recently passed away. But his son has taken over the company and been longer than I have, part of the mix, and drives everything we do. It's very, very hands-on. I have the pleasure of working directly with him on a daily basis, which is fantastic. He drives everything. I mean, he's really grown up a consumer of hospitality and really creating unique, authentic, I mean, that word has become so overused, but truly authentic experiences. And all of our hotels are different, but hopefully our guests kind of realize there's that attention to detail and service that is consistent throughout.
It's funny you say that, and this will just confirm what you're wanting your clients to achieve, your guests to achieve, is friends of mine have recommended the Scott and said, you have to go there, and like showed me pictures about how unique and how beautiful it is. So well done.
Thank you. We love hearing that.
Yes.
What do you do during holidays?
Like me personally?
No, like what does the hotel do? Are there big like Christmas things?
So the Arizona Grand they'll decorate fully for Christmas. It's definitely the biggest, it's kind of the outlier in our portfolio, 744 suites. It's huge. It has a 7-acre water park, golf course, spa. So that's very family oriented, although they also host a lot of group business, so conventions and things like that. But they'll decorate very much for Christmas. Otherwise, we try to actually be tastefully minimal in that it's not all, Christmas throw up all over the lobby kind of thing. So that people of all faiths and whoever can enjoy being there. We used to spend Christmas week at one of our Laguna Beach hotels as a family every year for several years. We'd hang the stockings on like the towel hooks and sprinkle reindeer food out in front of the door. And that's what my kids, that was their Christmas.
So what does that look like? Because when I was in hotels, I started front desk, but worked my way up into revenue management and was director of revenue. So that was my job, was like the marketing, the pricing, and all of that. So what does that look like for you?
So we work very closely with the revenue management team. So again, when I started, it was just me. The very first thing my boss told me was hire an assistant. And it was funny because I thought, well, I'm pretty efficient. Let's see. We only have 3 hotels. Very quickly, we bought a 4th. We were doing a renovation. We continued to grow. I now oversee a team of 7. And it was just marketing. And really in most hotels, and you probably know this from your time in the hotel world, at each property or over a couple of properties, you'll have a director of sales and marketing. They don't really do marketing. They're very sales focused. And they work with revenue a little bit, but those departments are kind of siloed too. We created this just amazing collaborative process where marketing continued to evolve, a lot of it because the passions of our owner lie there. So we kept seeing that there's things that he wants to do, and there's initiatives and adding programming and things that fall under our umbrella that our umbrella had to grow. So we work very closely with the revenue team, and they kind of own setting the rates, but we figure out how we're going to deploy that and what tools we're going to use to try and drive the demand. It's just continued to evolve and grow. And the brand management was something that also evolved in that instead we have 7 hotels and 7 restaurant concepts, and we rebranded the corporate identity.
Wow. And 7 unique hotels.
Yeah.
It's not like what you
All
do
the
for
same
one,
thing,
you
yeah.
can do for
No.
others, right? So it's really property specific.
Yep.
So what does that look like? And I imagine social media is a big part of that. So what does that look like?
Social media is a big part. We actually have one member of our team fully dedicated to in-house content creation. We kind of created it, and this was kind of taking a flyer on, let's see if this works, of being our own in-house influencer. So she created a completely separate Instagram that people don't really know. I mean, we're not hiding it, but they don't really know necessarily that it is for our hotels, but those just happen to be the ones she covers. She helps guide our other managers in keeping content fresh and steady for all of the properties. But social media is, I mean, it's really like a tiny piece. It's advertisements, email campaigns, communication strategies, making sure in the hotel world, the OTAs, which are online travel agencies, a lot of people book through Expedia, hotels.com. They don't realize you're not really booking direct through the hotel. The hotel has to pay a commission on that. So it's a constant strategy of how do we leverage that channel, which we need as an independent because we don't have a big Marriott flag hanging, driving that business. Use it to our advantage, know it's a necessary evil, and then always try to make sure that the next time someone books with us, they come direct.
So what has been like maybe a really successful campaign that you've done for one of your hotels?
You know, successful and interesting. I would say we were thrown a huge curveball with the pandemic. There was risk of a lot of people being furloughed, and I just continue to be grateful that my team was all able to stay on. I think there were 4 of us at the time. Shifted a little bit to kind of crisis communication and strategy there, but the company had the foresight to realize that if we pull back everything in terms of marketing, when we need to be visible again, we're going to be starting from scratch. So we kept our SEO completely ramped up, full, everything you could do to stay visible. We just changed the messaging. So we had some videos that had been shot. We did this 2-year project of shooting videos at each property that were going to live on the masthead of every hotel website. And we got local influencers to be like the stars, and they told their story. I mean, it was this huge project, and then the pandemic hit. So we took some of that footage and then just changed the messaging to say, when you're ready, when the time is right. Now, we were lucky enough to be in destinations that bounced back pretty quick. Everybody wanted to be in Arizona. You know, it was open, you could come here. And even at the beach, it was like, you can quarantine and look at the ocean. But I would say in terms of long-term strategy and just earning trust with the consumer and having the right approach to it.
That's great. And what you said, even in our world, is so true. And I think a lot of people miss that. They're more reactive and saying, okay, well, we're busy, so we can slow down on that because it's worked. Well, as soon as you slow down, then you're having to play catch up. And vice versa, when you're slow, well, we need to save money or whatever. No, that's when you need to keep going. So I think in anything, that consistency piece is so huge.
And it can be scary in business. I mean, it is kind of a hold on and hope kind of approach, but it does, I can tell you, it works. And a lot of our competitors did just have to cut some of those things, and they were clawing their way back, and we had really maintained placement.
I love that. I think just that messaging is so important. And I love what you said too about kind of flipping the script, right? Taking maybe a negative situation with COVID and scary and kind of flipping it around and looking for the opportunity in that, right?
There was, people just wanted hope. And I mean, searches for travel were through the roof. Because what else were people doing? It was all just this, when I can. So the pent up demand certainly came back and was fantastic. We had record years for like 2-3 years. It just kept going.
But you had to do things differently.
We did.
I mean, one of the statistics that's alarming in our world is last year, 71% of agents across the country didn't sell a single home, which is, I mean, it's staggering, right? And I would bet a lot of that is because they didn't adjust, you know, and I would guess even further that many will just step out versus dig in and then just go get it, right? So we'll see in the future, but the consistency is everything. And then being able to adapt and change your the way you approach it, because
Absolutely.
there's constantly different competitors or different things that come up that you just have to be aware of and figure it out. Sorry, my phone's ringing.
Now, that's one of the things I love about the flexibility of being in an independent company is we can pivot, we can make decisions, we can try things. We get that. We don't have to go through all this red tape of layers of
corporate world.
I love
Just call the owner and say, hey, can I try this?
That's awesome.
Oh gosh, I love that. That's like that. Yeah, it just feels more personal, right? I really love that. Well, you have been doing that for 11 years, but you also have breast cancer previvor. What is that?
So a previvor is someone who takes action to reduce or eliminate the risk of a genetic cancer before it develops.
Okay.
So my story goes back to my mom being diagnosed with breast cancer in 2014, within weeks of me actually starting this job. So I was so excited, this great new job, and then my mom calls and says, I have breast cancer. Then, we thought, people don't die from this anymore. She's gonna beat it, it's okay. She went through chemo, she had a mastectomy, she had radiation, they said she was cured. And we had a few months of, all right, you're good. And then something that they needed to go back and look at. And it was everywhere. And she lived about 8 months after that.
I'm so sorry.
So thank you. We knew it was out. We knew about breast cancer. You hear it, you don't know until it hits your family.
Yeah.
And like I said, most people, we do beat it in most cases. So not a lot of people die from it anymore. It was absolutely life-changing, like crushing. My mom was my person. So that was horrible. In the midst of her going through her treatment, somewhere in that mix, I actually felt a small lump myself. So of course, knowing what she's dealing with, it's heightened, scary. I go in, they're like, let's do a biopsy. The biopsy, no, it's nothing, but you have really dense breasts. We're gonna wanna watch. So I immediately got on a cycle of every 6 months, either a diagnostic mammogram, an MRI, an ultrasound. These things are not cheap.
Right.
And every time was this terrifying fear of what are you gonna find?
Yeah.
And every time they found something that they'd have to look at again. So continue. Lose my mom in 2016. Still kind of on this track. And then finally I said, I don't wanna be on this roller coaster anymore. There has to be something I can do proactively.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I was referred to an incredible doctor with Ironwood Cancer Research Centers here in Gilbert, actually, in the time we lived in Surprise. And they said, he is the breast specialist. And I went and saw him and he said, if you want to do this, I will make sure your insurance covers it. You have enough risk factors, but you can have a preventive mastectomy and essentially eliminate your risk. It goes away. You are taking that, you're making that choice. Otherwise, you're just waiting for the diagnosis.
Yeah.
How hard was that decision?
Honestly, one of the easiest.
Was it?
And what I love is that when people ask now, and my kids are like, why would people even hesitate?
Yeah.
Why is it even a question? So interestingly, the pandemic kind of messed that up too, in that I was getting ready to schedule and then that happened. So we kind of were like, well, obviously nothing elective was happening. Several months down the line, Aaron, my husband, actually said, you were ready to do that. The world's kind of opening up again. Are you ready to go back? He had felt prompted, and I am so grateful because we did. I went ahead and scheduled it, went in, had the mastectomy. The oncology doctor called me back for just a follow-up, and they total normal, they run pathology. He said, you had precancer.
Oh my gosh.
You were months away from a diagnosis.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that kind of hits me. So I super relate in so many ways. So my mother-in-law, same thing, found a lump, had a lumpectomy, and she actually had me talk to her doctor because she was totally fine with doing a mastectomy, and the doctor said, you're fine, I think I would just do that. So she just did that, was cancer-free, and then same thing, it was like maybe 6 months later, and she ended up passing away because it was everywhere too. Isn't that so crazy?
It's so frustrating.
Right?
I mean, it's what's driven me to just shout from the rooftops and share. And I'm not like a normal advocate type of person. There are too many stories. And with my mom, there was no protocol for like an end of treatment, full body scan. It was just, hope it worked. we're going to say you're good.
Right.
And she wasn't.
So did you, I don't think you said this, did you test for the gene?
So my sister lived in Portland. My mom was in Portland, so she got to go to a lot more appointments. And she actually told me, she said mom was negative for the BRCA1, which was like the main one they're testing for. So neither of us have actually ever had the test, although my sister had the same surgery. We both just said, we're just...
So in my family, my mom, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and then on my dad's side, my grandma as well, all breast cancer.
Oh my gosh.
So my sister and I got tested for the gene. Both of us tested negative. So, but same thing, I'm on the every 6 months, alternate between mammogram and MRI.
Yeah.
I
never want to tell someone like what's right for you, but honestly, it was one of the easiest decisions of my life. And I did it.
But that's not an easy surgery.
No, it's not. It is big. And that my girls were old enough to help take care of me. You know, one of them stayed home from school one day to be the one just to make sure that if I needed anything. But I'm young enough, I was healthy, I made sure to really kind of train going into it, thinking, all right, I want to make sure my body is strong and I can recover from this. I was on a plane a couple weeks later, spent several weeks of summer out in Florida like we had planned. I actually delayed my reconstruction because I was like, we're on vacation. Come back and do that. And I had to have a couple of revision surgeries, and I may still have one more just to kind of get things right. Some, you know, it's not perfect, but no question.
You're
like
alive.
I would, and I didn't have to be told. Because the other thing I saw watching my mom is once you get the diagnosis, the decisions are out of your hands. You're following a doctor's protocol, and every doctor's is a little bit different. They're doing what they believe is right, but it's still just like it's a business. And
that's the hard part, I think, is just not knowing what to do. And what can I do proactively? What are things, you know, even they say things like mammograms aren't good for you now. So it's just like, you just don't know what to do.
I know.
So while we're on the subject, what do women need to do right now? Like, what is something?
So, I mean, mammogram is still the first recommended, but here's the thing. If you have dense breasts, it doesn't show you anything. It's like looking into a dirty fish tank. They can't see. It doesn't give the clarity.
You said this too, like every time they find something and then you'd have to see.
No, I had biopsies and markers in both sides. I'm like, stop poking at me and just cut them off. So, I mean, the mammogram is the very first step, and younger than 40. Like, don't wait. My daughter's varsity cheer coach is battling breast cancer. She came to me in October and said, I think I have something. Who did you go to? What do I do? And her insurance was fighting the test she needed. And I said, offer a cash pay, because they'll get you in a second if you offered a cash pay. Because she got that test, they finally found she has stage 4 breast cancer.
My goodness.
She's been trying actually for 2 years to get diagnosed.
Wow.
And she's going through crazy harsh chemo right now. I mean, I'm like devastated and mad for her. I've kind of been part of the journey with her, but it's so frustrating that when we wait, you have to know to ask the questions, ask for the tests. If you're told you have dense breasts, a mammogram is not enough. Get an MRI, get an ultrasound, make sure they have a clear picture. And if there's anything scary, I mean, truly, I would tell anyone, consider the surgery. I had my surgery, and just over a year later, I competed and won Mrs. Arizona and won swimsuit.
Amazing.
Which is really cool, because that gave you the platform then to talk about this, right? So let's talk about the whole Mrs. Arizona.
Today's episode is sponsored by Eco Roofing. Eco is led by a third-generation Arizona roofer who is also the president of the Arizona Roofing Contractors Association. They offer free estimates and the best warranties in the states for shingle and tile roofs. They love giving back to their community and will always be here to serve you.
So that really was kind of what prompted me to get back into pageants. So 20 plus years ago, I competed once in a Miss in the Miss America system right after we graduated from college. Erin actually moved back to Portland with me, and I was like, I've always wanted to do this. This would be fun. I was in way over my head. That one, talent is a huge part of it. I was like, well, I've tap danced a little bit. You know, no, these girls, the one I actually competed with, the gal who went on to win Miss America that year and was an opera singer.
Oh, gosh.
So they were insane. Super talented. But I learned that there's certainly a lot of stereotypes about pageant girls, but I met some of the most intelligent, down to earth, incredible, driven women that I thought, well, this could be a really interesting thing to do. So as soon as we got married, Aaron and I moved back to Arizona, and I started looking and said, are there any Mrs. pageants?
Yeah.
And I actually competed in Mrs. Arizona 3 times, once actually pregnant with Carter.
Oh my God.
Way back when, 20 years ago. And never won, but met some incredible women. I loved it. We moved to Colorado and thought I was done. But after I had Colby, it was kind of I guess my carrot to get back in shape after babies, and competed in a different system. It's kind of like there's Miss America and Miss USA, kind of the same thing in the
Nothing
misses.
like being on stage.
I know.
You just want to get in shape better.
Yeah, pretty much. And for training, you're walking around in a swimsuit and heels. You're like, all right, I don't need that cookie.
Yeah.
So I competed in Colorado. I actually won Mrs. Colorado United States back in 2012. Again, thought I was done. And then with this whole journey happening, I thought, what better way to share this story? The Mrs. Arizona title was the one I always wanted, really.
Aww.
Secretly, it was like, that's what I want. And what an opportunity to share this. And I really feel like, and I'm still looking for ways to continue to broadcast more widely, because I'm now seeing 3 people I know who've been touched by hearing my story, and it's affected their choices.
And probably way more than you even know about, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, I don't think people talk about that as an option. I certainly haven't heard it from any doctor, any facility where I've gone to have my mammograms and whatnot. I also have a friend that did the same thing and had mastectomy preventatively and then reconstruction, and looked great, So good for her and good for you for doing that. But that opportunity or that message does need to get out there. So I love that you were like, okay, this is what I want to share. I'm going to find a platform that connects with you to go out and share it. But that wasn't easy. I'm sure, yes, the messaging had part of, led to you being crowned, but what other things and skills did you have to work on to make that happen?
Well, physical fitness is definitely a part of it. And I did train, and I have a good friend who used to teach classes at Seville, and now she just trains privately, who I said, all right, I'm buckling down, tell me what to do. And she kind of just gave me the tools to do it on my own, but she has a great app that I can use to track my macros. That was a really big piece for me, as I never really knew that much about nutrition. Luckily, I could kind of eat what I wanted, but I certainly wasn't as toned as I could be. And macros were life-changing.
Really?
And that just following it became also not about like what I can't have, but what does my body need to hit those macros. So I loved that. And it was like, oh, I'm okay. I actually need some more carbs. And honestly, most days I would save enough carbs to go have a 1/4 of a crumble cookie, like every night.
And a fourth of it.
Like you can do it though if you're hitting everything else. You're making sure you're getting your protein, getting the good fats.
That's how you survive mentally.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and we were in Florida for a month. Coming back, I competed in August. We ate ice cream, almost daily, if not a couple times a week.
I don't blame you.
But just made sure that around that I was getting good lean proteins and doing my fitness.
Yeah. So what are the best ways? Because protein's it's a hard one. I think sometimes for women.
Especially for ladies, yes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of chicken, and which I enjoyed. Costco has some great options of I was doing their Mediterranean chicken skewers.
Oh, okay.
But now I found they have these little individually packaged, like pre-seasoned. They're so easy. They're pre-cooked. You just warm it back up. Nice. I'm sure there's extra things in it that aren't great, but it's a good amount of protein.
Right.
I love a good protein shake though. Working from home, I mean, I'm at my desk all day.
Is it hard? Is it hard when you're working at home and you're close to the kitchen?
No, because I barely, I mean, really that's the one thing with my job is I'm busy.
Yeah.
So I make a protein shake and I'm back at my desk drinking it while I'm still working, often on calls or just continuing to work. So I pack a ton of stuff in my protein shake and I get a lot that way.
Do you?
And then for me, then dinner's kind of just flex.
Okay.
All right, I've hit most of what I need. Yeah. Now I can kind of have fun.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And then what about working out?
I'll work out 6 days a week. To train for the pageant, I was doing 2 days a week of that trainer at the time was teaching her class, which is a full body. It's awesome, super intense. You can go really as hard as you want with weights. And then I would weight train 4 days on top of that. Afterwards, I definitely hit a point where I was like, okay, my cortisol's a little high. I think I need to back off a little bit and find more of a maintenance.
Yeah.
And as we age a little bit, I mean, that was 3 years ago. I'm like, all right, things are a little different than they were.
What about creatine? Did you take or do you take?
I actually just started trying it. I saw a supplement advertised on Instagram, of course. It was like, this is for women in perimenopause. You should try this. I'm like, I'll try anything.
Yeah.
So I haven't decided yet what I think. I've
Okay.
only been doing it for maybe a month and a half. I read some people immediately felt bloated and yucky and didn't like it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. I know. Everyone says do it, and I'm doing it, but they say it takes a while to, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I can tell a difference.
Can you?
For sure.
Well, I was
And
just
it's all
looking into
positive.
like when to have it too, because I've been doing it with my like aminos while I'm working out.
Yeah.
And maybe I should be doing it
I
after.
do it immediately after.
Yeah.
And I'm simple. It's just a monohydrate powder, put it in
Yeah,
water.
Yeah.
Like this much water, shake it up just enough to get it in.
Oh, you just chug
And it's
it.
flavorless. You can still taste.
Yeah.
But
I put it in
just to
with my
get
electrolytes.
Yeah.
I know. I'm taking so many supplements now.
I see. I know. It's like every day I turn around and there's another one, and I'm like, okay, do I need to take that?
I know at this point, I wouldn't even know what is
Yeah,
working
yeah.
versus what's not because there's too many. But,
Yeah, that's true.
But you know.
You know, just hearing your story, you're a strong businesswoman with a successful career. That's huge. You're a mom, a devoted mom who loves your kids. That's amazing. You've taken action in, I would say, almost like a philanthropic manner, right? To get the word out about preventative care and what your options are. That's huge. So what's next?
Yeah. What do you not
Gosh.
do?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a senior, so
Yeah.
I've got one going off to college, and it's going to give us a unique opportunity to kind of focus more on the younger one.
Yeah.
She'll be the only
And
at home.
only a couple years with Colby.
I know. And then she wants to serve a mission and then go to BYU, dead set on cheering there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for following their journeys and
Yeah.
being a part of it. And
Yeah.
that's really what I'm thinking. I
Yeah.
mean, I love the flexibility of my job that I can be anywhere. So
love
we
that.
are able to go. We spend a good chunk of summer in Florida and
Yeah.
I work. I just continue, doing my West Coast hours
so
and then
awesome.
hang out at night.
Yeah. And Aaron's job allows him to do that.
Yeah,
too,
I mean, not as long,
Yeah.
so he'll have to come back for things, but it's been great. So I love that. I'm like, all right, let's look at the Bama calendar. When is Parents Weekend?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what are we going to have balancing that with cheer competitions here?
Yeah.
So now you're gonna have maroon and white.
I know. We're allowed to wear red again.
Yeah. We'll
How
have a
do
whole new
you-
wardrobe.
Yeah. So how do you, because I'm just thinking of the woman who's listening to this and relating and thinking, how is she doing it all? Like, and we know as women that self-care is really important too. Like if we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not going to show up well for others. So how do you do that?
Well, I will say my first reaction is like, oh, it's all an optical illusion.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I have it all together. You put it all on paper, it looks like it. And
Yeah.
that's all, some of it spread out over a couple of years. But I'm lucky in, we have such a great family unit that, I mean, my husband works a ton too. So he's always willing, like, hey, what can I do to kind of pull my weight and help? And I know he always feels bad that he's not able to be the one to take them to doctor appointments or often even see their own games because he's watching the other games that are
True.
happening.
That
He's
he's
supervising.
required to do that. On a side note, just real quick, that guy is at every dang sport. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it, but anyway, go back.
Yeah, no, it's, my girls are awesome. And so they help. And that with Carter being able to drive, my senior gets out at, she only does a half day. So I order groceries for her to pick up on
Right.
Mondays. She brings them home, puts them away.
Yeah.
So that, I'm definitely not doing
Yeah.
it all on my own.
Yeah.
I maybe cook 2 meals a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be completely honest. We laugh like, why do we have a kitchen?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
where the takeout
Yeah.
goes.
Does anybody else cook or is it
No.
takeout? Okay.
No, but we've got games too. Is
Yeah.
I'll be like, all right, I'm committed to Monday and Tuesday, and then we've got a track meet or we've got a tennis match, and nobody's home.
Yeah.
So
That's one thing I admire about your family too is your girls have tried so many different things, and I love that.
Yeah.
I think kids. We can talk about this too.
Right.
Kids specialize too early in a sport, and I mean, how many sports have they tried?
they've both done quite a bit. With Colby, we weren't sure we were going to find it. She tried soccer. She tried basketball. I was telling Ryan before we started that she was on this little kids basketball